So we'll get started. One more thing before I get into the actual learning of statistics here. There are two things that I need you guys to do in addition to your regular homework this week. So you got your regular homework with the reading and the exercises, and you'll be turning that in. One is, two other things is I need your email address. All right. I know a lot of you guys have already given UCLA Extension your email address, but because of their privacy policy, they're not allowed to give me your email address. So you have to explicitly give it to me. I've got a link in the homework page to a little form, and you just type in your name and email address, and that way I'll have it. Okay. I don't send out very many emails, but the few emails I do send out, you probably want, those will be your grade updates after the midterm exam, and right before the final exam and after the final exam. Okay, so those are pretty much the only emails I'll send out. Another one is I do have, and this is optional, but there's a Facebook group. All right. And I guess one of the suggestions from students many classes ago was that they wanted an opportunity to kind of meet their classmates or get together for study groups or ask each other questions and things like that. And just because of the format of this class, you know, we're not going to be doing group projects or anything like that, and I'm not going to have any time for you guys to be really talking to each other. So the Facebook group exists as a way for you to kind of meet some of your other classmates, and if you have questions about the class or any of the material or any of the homework problems, you can post your questions there, okay? And your classmates can answer, or I can answer the questions there, okay? I actually prefer, if you have questions about any of the material, I prefer you post your questions there, because chances are other students have similar questions, and my answer to your question will benefit other students, okay? If you know, if it's a personal issue, you know, I'm going to miss class, this and this is happening in my life, yeah, you don't need to post that on Facebook, okay? Some of you guys like to post that kind of stuff on Facebook, but you don't need to do that. You can just send me a private email, that's fine. But if you have questions about material and stuff, I encourage the Facebook group for that. So you know, questions about material, or if you're going to be absent a day and you need somebody to hand in your homework, maybe you can meet someone that way, or you know, arrange study groups, etc., etc. So those are good uses of the Facebook group. Okay. There's a link to the Facebook group on the web page, and also in your on homework 1, you'll see all the links that I'm talking about. Oh, and then just another personal thing that I have to share with you guys. So we're scheduled to meet every Tuesday from 7 to 10, okay? And I will do my very best to be here to teach you guys. At the same time, my wife is pregnant and she's expecting in November. And so there is a possibility that I'm going to have to cancel class with very little notice, okay? And I normally hate to do that, right? Because the worst was when I was a student, the worst was I make a trip all the way to campus, and then there's a note on the door that says, sorry, class canceled, and you're just like, no! Right? So, huh?
You're like, no, I'm like,
yes. Okay, you're excited, well, all right, well, I was always looking forward to going to class, and I was always disappointed when class was canceled and the note was only on the door. So normally if I have to cancel class, I'll try to give you guys advance warning. but because of the nature of the circumstance, that may or may not be possible. Okay, I'll do my best to be here, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, all right, sorry, honey. Looks like you got this, all right? No, we won't do that. I might be. I'm not trying to win Worst Husband of the Year award. So.
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. That's mostly true. So. Okay. All right. So let's learn statistics. Are we excited for this class? I'm really excited. Yeah, that's kind of this was no joke. When I took this class as an undergraduate student, it changed my life. Okay, I was studying engineering and I finished with an engineering degree. But after taking statistics, I fell in love with the subject, and here I am. Teaching statistics, hoping you guys maybe will develop a little crush on statistics. Maybe it's not going to happen, okay? I know some of you guys hated numbers ever since you figured out what a number was, and maybe this subject, isn't going to be your favorite subject or even second favorite subject. But I at least hope I can express. Maybe it's not that awful, okay? And so anyway, let's start off. Okay, so why do we study statistics? Okay. All right. Well, why do we study any subject? Why do we go to college? Why do we take classes? Okay, to get educated. Why is there merit in education?
To get
right?
a good job, to get money, to have a good life.
Okay, so alright, so there's this idea that education is going to help you get a good job. Okay. But why should the educated people get good jobs?
They're well learned.
Okay, alright, so we're just coming up with synonyms for education, right? Educated, learned. Okay, well, my argument is that we bother studying anything. We take classes, we place value in education because it helps us understand the world around us, okay? So why do we study? To understand the world around us. When we understand things, we can make better decisions, right? So maybe before we answer why do we study statistics, we even answer why study, why learn? Okay, and it is understand the world around us. Okay, and a better understanding of the world we hope leads to better decisions. Okay. That's why we study history, because we can learn about what might happen in the future by studying the past. Could see what happened in the past, we might have an idea of what might happen in the future if we make similar decisions. Or any other subject, you name it. So what does statistics have to offer to this end? Okay, I guess I'm arguing, and this is not the purpose of this course, but any class you take, you should ask, how is this going to help me understand the world around me? Okay, and it should offer something. Okay, whether it's even a typing class where you're learning how to type, maybe it doesn't help you understand the world, but it helps you become more efficient in just a certain task or skill. Okay. So why do we study statistics, and what does it have to offer here? Okay. So statistics allows us to make informed conclusions from limited data. Okay. So it allows us to make conclusions or understand things based on limited information. Okay, so maybe I have to define what data is. Okay, data in its essence is information. Okay, frequently numbers are involved. Numbers in a context. Okay, so it's not just numbers in of themselves, but there's some meaning behind the numbers. Okay. So this classroom of students could represent a data set, and we could gather bits of information about each student. We could say, one question could be, what is your gender? And another bit of information we can get is, you know, how tall are you? Or how old are you? So on and so forth. And so, and we can compile this information and say, oh, in this class, 60% are women and 40% are men. Whatever, okay? But that in of itself is not statistics, okay? Gathering data and then just summarizing tables in of itself is not statistics. That's part of statistics, but the real heart of statistics is what allows us to make informed conclusions from limited data. And this is the idea. Ideally, we want to be able to make statements about everyone that we're interested in. Okay, when the government is passing laws, if they're trying to say we want to implement this new law, they're using information. Okay, and they're hoping that based on this information, okay, or the information that they're using, they're counting on this to inform them about the United States, right? If they want to say, so let's say they're trying to make some kind of policy about welfare, right? And so they want to understand something a little bit more about people receiving welfare and people who might need welfare. Okay, so people who are really low income or struggling or things like that. They want to make decisions based on information. Okay, and if somebody came up to them and said, "Oh, we should set the poverty line to be anybody who makes $40,000 per year or less, we will say is below poverty line and should qualify for welfare," okay, then the government would run into a problem, right? Because a lot of people would suddenly qualify for welfare, and a lot of people, well, the government would probably run out of money. Okay, so so some, we can't just say people under $40,000 per year should qualify. Okay, and why not? Well, we would, if somebody said, oh, okay, so let me just stop for a second. So if somebody says, oh, you know what, right now only 1% of the United States makes under $40,000 per year, so we're not going to run into any problems. If the government had no idea what was going on, okay, if some decision maker up high says, oh, well, only 1% is below this line, okay, that seems reasonable, we'll set this, okay? And if they go through that, it turns out, oh, it's not 1%, it's like 45% of America is under $40,000 per year, and then they're going to run into problems, right? On the other hand, if they say, oh, well, if you don't want to run into that problem, we'll just set poverty line and say anybody who makes less than $5,000 per year will qualify, and we'll say then only the people who make less than 5,000 would qualify, and there's a lot of people in between who probably need some assistance, but they wouldn't qualify. Okay, and so these types of decisions are made based on data or information that comes in, okay, and they could have significant effects on people's lives, okay, and no matter what your political opinion is regarding any of these social policies or issues, I think we can agree that the data and information that we use to make decisions, or that politicians use to make decisions, is important, okay, and the truth is we have no idea exactly how many families make $40,000 a year or less. And we have no idea exactly how many families make $20,000 per year or less, okay? We can only have decent guesses at this, okay? A lot of times you hear about the unemployment rate, and they say the unemployment rate is this %, and that's an improvement over last month, okay? How are they getting this information? Okay, they're getting it from different offices and things like that. But how should we actually get the true unemployment rate? The only way, okay, so let's say if somebody says unemployment is 8%, 8.1%, what does that mean?
8.1% of the people that were contributed into the survey are unemployed.
Okay, so at the most basic level, this suggests that 8.1% of people who want jobs don't have jobs, right? So that if we surveyed 100 people who wanted jobs, we expect about 8 of them to not have jobs. Okay, that's kind of what it means, right? Now, the only way to truly get this is if we ask every single American, okay? There's 300-something million people in the United States. We have to ask every single one of them, and then we have to figure out, is this person looking for a job or not, right? Maybe if they're a kid, they don't count, okay? If they're a homemaker, okay, someone who stays at home taking care of the kids, aren't actively looking for employment, they also don't count, right? So we would have to go through all 300-something million people, figure out who wants a job, and then we also have to figure out who doesn't have a job, okay? And that would require us to solve or survey every single person and figure out who qualifies and who doesn't have a job, okay? So to get the true answer, true unemployment rate, we would need to survey all Americans, or all 300+ million U.S. Citizens, or U.S. Americans, and then figure out who wants a job, and figure out who does not have a job. And that would require a lot of counting. It would require us trying to get these numbers would be very, very challenging to do, okay? we attempt to get this number once every 10 years, and it's extremely expensive, okay? People, they hire a whole bunch of census workers, and they have to go out to every single neighborhood and track down people who didn't respond to their flyer, etc., etc. It's a lot of work, okay? So we can't, and they release this number every single week. They're not doing this process every single week, okay? So how are they getting this number? Well, this number is a guess, okay? But it's an informed guess, and it's based on samples of data, okay? So rather than trying to get every single person, to survey all 300 plus million Americans, okay? That would represent the population, okay? This is all 300 plus million Americans. Okay. But we can't survey. We can't study every single one. Too expensive and tedious. To survey everyone. So, instead, we take a sample. So this is, maybe we select 5,000. Who knows? Okay, so maybe 5,000 Americans. And then, and we can survey 5,000 Americans. That's not too much of a problem. And we can ask them, you know, who's looking for a job? And then this many people say, I'm looking for a job. And then we say, well, and who should be employed and who doesn't have a job, and so on and so forth. We could figure out the unemployment rate of these 5,000 people, right? So let's say. So we can study a sample, and based on this sample, not multiply, we're going to infer back about the population, okay? So we're hoping that the information that we get from the sample tells us information about the population. Okay. So we can study the sample. We want information on it. So our sample is only maybe 5,000 people. Is it safe? Is it okay for us to study 5,000 people and then say the United States is similar?
No.
No? Why not?
Because you have different people want different things from different socioeconomics or different backgrounds, whatever it is, there's variables to that.
Okay. Well, I would actually say that if you selected your 5,000 people correctly, it's okay to take these 5,000 people and say, they kind of represent the United States. It's okay to say that, all right, as long as these people were selected in an appropriate manner, okay? And so what do you think I mean by selected in an appropriate manner? Yes? Yeah, random selection, okay? Now why would random selection be the best?
It's the only way through causality. It's random, you don't get no information beforehand.
Okay, I would say it would not prove anything about causality here. But you're right about random selection. But yeah, let's hear from other students. Yes.
It's not biased.
Okay, unbiased. And what do you mean by that?
Like, it's not for like one specific area.
Okay, so it's not going to be from one specific area. Okay, that's good. Yes.
You would get different results.
I would get different results.
If you would get all the same. You did like one group of people.
All right, you're talking, but I'm only taking one sample here, right? So I'm only selecting 5,000 people once. So you're saying the 5,000 people I select would be different from each other? Okay. That's true, but that would also be true even if I selected a biased sample here. Okay. Okay. Well, so let me just get to the idea. Now we want our sample to be representative of the population. Okay. These 5,000 Americans that we select, we're hoping is like a mini model of the United States. Okay. We want these 5,000 people to be representative of the U.S. as a whole. Okay, so we can study the sample. All right, and so for this to work, our sample should be representative of the population. The idea of selecting at random helps us get a representative sample. Okay. Selecting people randomly helps us get a representative, population, helps us get a representative sample. Okay. So somehow, if we had 300 million Americans, we would just want to select people at random, and that would ideally give us 5,000 people that are somewhat representative of the United States. Okay. And then if we study those 5,000 people and get an unemployment rate of those 5,000 people, we can kind of infer or try to make an educated guess about the unemployment rate of the overall population. And yeah, someone mentioned the concept of bias, meaning if your sample does not represent the population well, the conclusions you make will not fit the population well either. Okay? So if your sample does not represent it well, we might call that a biased sample. So, for example, if we took the entire sample from selected 5,000 people from the city of Detroit, and we asked questions about unemployment, okay, our conclusions will probably be very different, or the sample from Detroit will not represent the overall unemployment rate of the entire United States, okay? Detroit's going through kind of these,
The copper state.
you know, difficult time right now, and so, you know, the unemployment rate there is a lot higher, okay? I went to college out in Flint, and that was, they were suffering a rough time back then, and they still are today, you know, that's unfortunate, but the economy kind of just left them in the dust. Okay, so a random sample helps us deal with that, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about selecting samples and getting representative samples and getting data, okay? Now, whenever we take a look at a sample, okay, a sample we might also call our data set. And a lot of times, so if we selected, you know, 5,000 Americans for this thing, we could list off every single person we selected and all the relevant attributes about these people. Okay. Now our data set gives us information. Okay, so you know each data set can tell us, you know, a story. All right. Maybe it won't have a climax and a conclusion, or it might not be a 3-act play, but it gives us an idea of the bits and pieces that have come here. Okay. And when you were in grade school and you were learning how to write a paragraph or a story, they always said you want to talk about your 5 W's, right? The who, what, when, where, why, and how. All right. And your data set will also tell you the same types of thing, okay? The when, where, why, and how, this is generally the context of the data. When did you gather this data? And where did you gather this data, right? Hearing information about 5,000 people from California is very going to give you a very different context than getting 5,000 people from Texas, okay? Or Oklahoma or whatever, right? You know, why did we gather this, and how was this data gathered? These are all important bits into revealing us information about the data or the sample that we collected. Okay. And the who and the what, this will often be the contents of the data. Contents, okay? The who, you can think of, if you have a table, each line in this table would be our who, and these, we often call these cases, okay? Cases, or individuals, subjects, whatever you might want to call them. Basically, each line in the table. And the what? These are the bits, different bits of information that we collect about each subject. These are our variables. And so, as far as variables go, okay, variables, there are two types, okay, two types of variables. We have categorical variables, and we have numeric variables. Okay. Sometimes these are called quantitative variables. They give us a quantity. So categorical variables, they put our data into categories. Put our subjects okay. So examples of categorical variables. Okay. Gender. Alright. Male or female. Put each person into a category. Or it could be if we're talking about cars, okay, then it could be the color of the car, okay? Color of car. Maybe you have silver or black or red, whatever, okay, etc., etc. You put our cars into different categories. Those are examples of categorical variables. On the other hand, numeric variables, they tell us a quantity. It tells us how much or how many of something we have. How much or how many. So it could be someone's weight. How much does somebody weigh? Okay, so weight in pounds. Or it could be the number of children. How many children does somebody have? Okay. Things like that. Okay, so